Hey, Maven Nation. Welcome to another episode of Success with Saneness. We are your bi weekly dose of solution inspired stories. Listen, to help you maintain your well being. I'm your host, Maven Miara. I am honored today to share a guest, actually, a new connection that I made. We met at a networking event. She told me a little bit about what she does, and I was like, listen, Maven Nation needs to hear about this. So, my guest today is Jeanette Dove. She is a licensed psychotherapist, actually, right in my neck of the woods in Houston. Listen, I'm always happy to make connections that I don't have to drive to the Galleria, all across our big city to connect with. So, I'm happy that she's with us today. And one of the things that really, after I looked at her site, really got me excited about the work that you do, Jeanette, is your work is really around helping people overcome perfectionism. And I thought, wow, that is absolutely amazing because I know how really paralyzing that type of mindset can be. So, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, your background. I know you are a Texan, born and raised in Texas as well. Actually, even more locally in Houston, which for the fourth largest city, we meet a lot of people that are not from Houston,
Exactly,
not from
exactly.
Houston. Say, where are
Absolutely.
all these people from? But you
Yeah,
are a local, so tell us a little bit about your background growing up and what kind of led you into this space of talking about perfectionism.
yeah, it's definitely nonlinear. I will say that.
Okay.
Thank you for that very nice introduction. My name is Jeanette Dove. I am a licensed psychotherapist, as Myra said, specializing working with overfunctioning perfectionists who struggle with depression, anxiety, burnout, stress management, boundary concerns, etc. I did not start in psychology. My
Okay.
undergraduate degree was actually in advertising from the
Oh,
University of Texas,
wow.
Austin. Yeah, yeah. And I
Two different ends.
completely opposite ends of the spectrum. I did that for about a year and just realized it was not for me. I
Okay.
needed to be more connected with people. Um, I actually got into education. I was a teacher for about 7 years.
Okay.
The majority of my career was in Alief ISD at the center of
Wow.
Houston, yeah, Texas. Um, and it was really my career as a teacher that led me into psychology because I found myself in this positions where I was really connected with what I was doing outside of the classroom in terms of
Okay.
supporting my other teachers, my other colleagues, and the parents with their stress levels, with their anxiety, with everything that was happening, et cetera. Because being a teacher is exhausting. We were juggling many hats, and
Yes.
it's a very high anxiety centered career. So I did find myself supporting my colleagues a lot, and through that, I really discovered my love for psychology and helping others and connecting with others in that type of area.
I love it. So tell us, because we hear all of the psycho fill in the blank, right? What specifically is a psychotherapist, right?
Yes.
And what do you look to accomplish with your clients? And in that framework of what are you going to be doing and what does the client have to really focus on their part?
That's a great question. So, the three main psycho categories I would say are psychiatrists, psychologists, and psychotherapists, right?
Okay.
So, a psychiatrist is an MD, a doctor, right? So, they
Okay.
go to med school and whatnot. The main difference between a psychiatrist, psychologist, and a psychotherapist is that a psychiatrist can prescribe medication, right?
Okay. Okay.
So I usually refer a client to a psychiatrist when I believe that further assessment and possible medication management will be necessary in their
Okay.
treatment to assist with whatever they might be struggling with. Now, a
Okay.
psychologist usually focuses more on assessments. And
Okay.
so I might send or provide a referral to a child psychologist for a parent who might be not sure, what's going on with their child. Maybe they need to be assessed for ADHD. Maybe they need to be assessed for autism, etc.
Okay.
All right. Now, as a psychotherapist, I'm getting all confused here. As a psychotherapist, I focus primarily on utilizing talk therapy to
Okay.
support clients' mental health needs, right?
Okay.
So a
That
client,
totally makes sense.
yeah,
Um, because I think sometimes the being able to have the freedom to say
yes,
what you're struggling with, and oftentimes that might not be a friend, right? You
right,
want a professional so that by the laws you guys are bound with, they can't share it with anybody. A
right,
good friend wouldn't share it, but perhaps it might come
right,
up, right?
right,
So I think that is great that people have a really safe place um,
exactly.
to speak, and I love that distinction that you shared because I think oftentimes, especially in the Black community, we hear psycho, fill in the blank, anything. We think that means you are crazy, you need medication, you need to be in a hospital. When a psychotherapist, like you said, is really more talk therapy.
Exactly.
You're helping that person, and that doesn't mean that they would need medication. You can't prescribe that for them anyway. So
Right.
I really listen because there are people really struggling with some things that a psychotherapist could probably really help them with, just hearing it and helping them take steps to move forward versus not seeing anyone because you feel like if I see psycho anybody, that
Yes.
means I'm crazy. And that
Right.
I'm grateful that there are more platforms talking about this so that
Yeah.
people can release that stigma and listen,
Exactly.
go for the help that they need. Go for the help they
Exactly.
need.
There is a huge stigma, especially within the Black community, as you said.
Hmm.
Everything has to go to God first. And
Yes,
I 100% respect that and give space for that.
absolutely.
That there is a place for that, but there also is a place to really focus and prioritize on your mental health.
Yeah. I mean, I say that Jesus and therapy go together.
Yeah.
You're not less of a Christian. God doesn't think less of you
Right.
because you need some physical human connection help, right?
Right.
A
Yeah.
person to sit in front of you and talk, hold your
Yeah.
hand, hand you a Kleenex,
Yeah.
whatever that looks like for you, that is okay. So Maven Nation, if anyone is struggling with that mindset barrier, that
Yes.
all I need is God. Yes, we need God. We get that. That's a period at the end of that statement.
Right. Right.
You can also see someone in the mental health space to help you with things that you're struggling with. There's no shame. And here's the thing. You are not required to post it on Facebook.
Exactly. Exactly. Knowing you
No
can
one has to know. It's okay. You don't have to
yes.
make an announcement about it.
No, it is your own personal, private journey. And I always encourage my clients to keep it very close to your heart. You have to be
Yeah.
very careful about who you let into this space because not
Yes.
everybody gets it. Not
Yeah.
everybody gets
Yeah.
it. You want to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with people who are going to validate you and support you.
Yeah.
Encourage you along in the journey. Look, it's science. You are
Yes.
not, we are strong. We are a strong group of people, but we are
Yes.
not, excluded from the human experience.
Absolutely.
We,
Yeah.
our body goes through trauma. There's a science behind that. There's a
Hmm.
psychology behind that. And there are tools and methodologies that we can use to help support you through that.
Yeah. I listen. I love that. And again, we're going to just keep sharing positive messaging around mental health.
Yes.
And in our world today, the world itself is at such a fast pace, and there's this pressure people can feel to keep up, to do all the things, to always be the strong Black woman, Black person, woman in general, human in general.
Yes.
Listen,
It's exhausting.
it is exhausting. And listen, get my phrasing is always around balance rhythm. That
Yes.
is creating success without sacrificing your relationships, your health, or your mental sanity, because it can be accomplished. Hence
Absolutely.
the podcast called Success with Saneness. We
Exactly.
can do it. We have to be intentional. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk around this topic of perfectionism. Like I was truly fascinated when I
Yeah.
saw someone you really hone in on that wording because I've seen it show up in CEOs and business leaders and social leaders that I've worked with of needing things to be absolutely perfect
Mhm.
before they are released.
Yeah.
And we know it's never going to be perfect.
Mm-mm.
Therefore, the beautiful thing you have inside of you, your mind that you've created, designed, written the book, whatever it is, it's never going to be released into the world for those that need it because you want it to be perfect.
Yep.
And
Yep.
and I always tell clients, we're going to just remove the word perfection out of our vocabulary.
It's a
We don't
facade.
need it, but we can deliver excellence. And excellence is delivering the best you have with what you have where you are. That's
Exactly.
it. So around this topic of perfectionism, how does that show up in people's life?
Mhm.
Because I would imagine there are some people probably struggling with perfectionism that don't even know that that's what they're struggling with.
Yeah, and a lot of it is because the idea of perfectionism is often rewarded in society.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
we tout it. You know, oh, I'm a
Mm-hmm.
perfectionist. I have to have it like this. I'm not going to do it unless it's perfect.
Yeah.
And really, it's I want to kind of reframe that because
Yeah.
you're not allowing yourself to be seen, right? It's
Yes.
really a facade.
Mm-hmm.
So perfectionism, I don't want to get too technical, but it's rooted in typically a attachment wound. And so what
Okay.
I mean by attachment wound is somewhere along the line in our childhood, there was a wound with our primary caregiver where we
Okay.
received messaging that in order for us to be loved and accepted, we have to be achieving and accomplishing and get the accolades.
Okay.
So I don't get my love and the acceptance that I need until I'm accomplishing, until I'm achieving.
Got
I
it.
don't get the praise and I love you unless I've done X, Y, Z and I've executed it perfectly. And so that translates as an adult to this strive. Like I have to keep going. I have to keep going. I have to keep going. And then the goalpost keeps getting pushed back further and further and further. And there's really nothing that's ever good enough. And
Wow.
what's going to happen is you're going to burn out. It's
Okay.
there's no way. You're
Yeah.
gonna burn out. Your body's gonna shut down.
Wow. That I mean, that makes it plain. That makes it really plain. And I remember earlier in my when I was still in the corporate space, as you were talking about that, um, I remember that one of the reasons like that brought up a memory of me as a child, not necessarily wanting to do things so perfectly for my mom. I was raised by a single mother, but that perfectionism was there because I didn't want her to have to worry about me.
Mm-hmm.
At a
Yep.
very young age, I could get the concept that she's a single mother. Like there's not enough money for all the extra stuff. So if I stay the line and
Exactly.
do the things I need to do without her having to worry, ask about it, then that's just going to be less stress on her. Listen, she did not ask me to be worried about what she was worried about. But that was just a thought that I had. And so this concept around perfection can show up in different ways. Is that
Um,
would that be accurate and really show up in our lives in different ways, but it really still boils down to that same thing of
exactly.
wanting the praise or the accolades or not not wanting to put a parent or caregiver whomever under more stress about us not doing the thing we need to be doing.
Exactly. Exactly. You said that perfectly. So when I work with my clients, there's no way to do this work without really focusing on the messages that we've created, the stories that we created as a child, and how we
Okay.
internalize them, right?
Okay.
Because like you said, your mother didn't ask you to do any of that,
Right.
right? You created that story based off of
Mm-hmm.
whatever you were taking in from your environment.
Right.
You internalized that, and that created your perfectionistic habits, right?
Mm-hmm.
The thing about perfectionism is that it really is a facade in that we're not allowing our true selves to be seen. If we do
Right.
make a mistake, we become vicious to ourselves. We rip ourselves
Mm.
apart. If we slip up in public, or there's a typo, or there's an error, we sent an email that wasn't, we it's just crippling. It's so
Okay.
crippling for us, right?
Okay.
Um, I have a client who, mentioned that she doesn't send emails. She just got
At all?
doesn't send emails. She prefers to do it through what is it called, the chat messaging system that they have at work,
Okay.
because it's more casual that way. And she
Ah.
realized when she sends emails, she will just be spending all day reading through
Oh
the email,
wow.
looking for errors. Can I say this better? Should I say that? Should I put this in there instead? That is the kind of mindset that
Ah.
perfectionists get stuck in.
Okay.
It's not done perfectly. And there's always something that could be done better.
Yeah.
And that's
And
why
I
it's
think that is it. There is oh, honey, look, when I look at how I was doing in my business 8 years ago
Mhm. Yeah,
and what I do and how I perform and the level of now,
yeah.
it's two different things.
Mhm.
But you have to get started on it. You have to do it
Exactly.
for growth to occur.
Exactly.
And I did a video not too long ago that talked about being okay to be a beginner in that way of that's how you're going to grow. There are going to be some mistakes or even things that could have just been done better.
Exactly.
And that is okay. It's so interesting how I kind of got pushed out of that mindset in the work that I was doing in corporate. I was a natural gas trader, an energy trader, oil
Okay.
trader.
Mhm.
Listen, my brain did not, I could not be successful in that career, always wondering, could I have done it better? If I had waited 3 more seconds, I would have got a
Exactly.
dollar more, a penny more. Like you would literally drive yourself insane. And then you would be stuck because trading is about moving.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the thing that had to be built into my mindset, my tenacity was there are going to be some losses. That is the nature of trading. You're not going to win or be
Yeah.
successful at every single trade.
Yep. Yeah.
If you are, listen, it's not the oil and gas companies that want you, it's the people in Vegas. Like somebody wants you if you never make a mistake, right? And I think, again, I don't believe there are any wasted experiences. That experience in my corporate career prepared me better for entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Whew, because this journey right here, there
Yes.
is always something to
Yes.
do better, to improve on. And there are going to be fails. It's
Absolutely.
just going to happen. And I've probably almost over adapted sometimes at this point where I'm like, problem, solution, next.
Right. Right. Let's just get it off the plate because you can't sit with it
Fix it
forever.
and move on.
Right.
Yeah, fix it and move on. I want to stay in, and let's talk about this a little bit in helping perfectionists some steps to move forward because I use the mindset that I do need to take the lesson from the loss, whatever it was.
Mhm.
Okay, why did that fail?
Okay.
How could I have improved that so that when I do that again, I can use a growth mindset to move forward, but not to the point where it's paralyzing you. And now you're in that loop of,
Yeah.
oh my God, I sent out that email and instead of AND, I had AN. Like,
Yeah.
oh my, like the
Yes.
world's,
And your world crushes down.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I like to call myself a recovering perfectionist. I have
Okay.
been there. I get it 100%. We can't have this conversation without talking about failure. And we
Yes.
can't talk about failure unless we talk about how we view ourselves, how we
Okay.
truly view ourselves, and
Mm-hmm.
how we are truly, do we truly love ourselves? It's the right
Mm.
answer, of course. Oh, yeah, I love myself. Of
Yeah.
course, I love
Right.
myself.
Right.
But tell me more about the facade that you're putting up then,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
right? Because what you're putting out there is not who you truly are. And I'm not talking about showing up, in the world looking sloppy, blah, 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 blah. That's
Right.
not what I'm talking about. Of course, you
Right.
want to put on your best self and your best, put your best self forward. What I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about is, do you know who you are?
Okay.
Who are you? Whose
Mm-hmm.
goals are you chasing?
Mm.
Are you chasing your goals, or are you chasing the goals of someone else?
Okay.
And a lot of times, what I find with my clients is that we're chasing a primary caregiver's goals.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. You
Right.
know, I spoke with this was a client I was coaching some years ago, and we were having a strategy session. And at the beginning of that strategy session, she started telling me, now this lady had already built right at $1 million business as
Mm-hmm.
an entrepreneur, non-degreed.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, oh, I enrolled in college. I'm going to go back to school. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But something in my spirit was like, I said, why are you going back to school?
Mm-hmm.
And she paused and she just broke down in tears.
Mm-hmm.
She
Mm-hmm.
said, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I said, who are you trying to get to believe that you are good enough?
Exactly.
Who can you identify who? I said, is it your mom? Is it your dad? Like, who is it that you're trying to get them to believe that, okay, if I get this piece of paper now they're going to believe I'm good enough. I'm
Yes.
like, it's you. You
Yes.
have to believe it. That was, my God, like my heart ached for her that you were ready to invest this type of money, this level of time commitment, along with continuing to run your business, not for the true goal of I want a degree or need a degree.
Yes.
She was trying to
Earn
build this
some
perfect image.
acceptance.
And oh
Yes.
God, I was like,
Yes.
oh wow.
Yes. Yes. You said it. Not the core of perfectionism is, am I good enough?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Am I
And you
good
see that show up in people's lives
enough?
every day
Every
in
day
so many
somebody.
ways.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
it's just, and I was moderating a panel recently, and I forgot what was said, and I stopped and I said, ladies, repeat after me. My unique story is good enough.
Mm.
The unique, that's the part.
Yeah.
Unique, authentic story.
Yeah.
Because I think, we can talk about social platforms, and they definitely have their benefits, but I think it's been a place for people to cultivate a bigger disparity around perfectionism, because there's
Mhm.
always this comparison thing going on in people's minds of, oh, she's doing it this way, we're in the same space, I need to do it that way, or I've got to do more to get ahead of her. It's it's just this entangling thing in our mindset that just keeps, if we don't get with a psychotherapist, a psychologist, or whomever the psycho it is we need, this is so crippling, because I'm always seeing the greater potential in a person,
Yeah.
how amazing they naturally are,
Yes.
and they don't see it because they're worried about, well, but that person in me is not
Mhm.
perfect. And I'm
Yeah.
like, point out somebody that is.
Yeah.
Listen, I
That
don't care
is.
what the Instagram feed says, because that picture you saw was the 80th picture with 2 filters and 90 edits on it.
Love. Yes.
That's still not authentic.
It's not,
It
and you have
looks
to say
perfect. Yeah.
their brand. That
Yeah.
is a brand that they're
Mm-hmm.
building on social
Yeah.
media.
Yeah.
That is not them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would listen, Maven Nation, if you don't get nothing else, Jeanette and I say, the authentic you is good enough. It cannot be. I'm not gonna say it doesn't have to be, it cannot be perfect. If you achieve perfection, even that, then what are you gonna do with the rest of your journey?
Mm.
We don't even, in the space of faith, we don't even need faith for perfection. If
Right.
we achieve perfection, then what do you need faith for? What do you need? What do you need belief for? What do you need hope for?
Yeah.
If
Mm.
you're going to beat yourself up day in and day out to
Mm.
achieve perfection, like you're holding something beautiful that the world needs to yourself, because you say it's not perfect.
It's not perfect. Really, it is. What I find with my clients is when they come to me, it's really just a shedding of these experiences that have hardened us,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? And it's really We've got to peel those layers back, get to who was underneath, who was at
Yeah.
the core there.
Yeah.
And that
What
can
are
be
some ways if someone's watching this and they're like, I don't think I'm a perfectionist.
mm-hmm,
I just like you started with, I just like things done a certain way.
mm-hmm,
That's
mm-hmm.
cute to say. It's cute to say. It's cute to say and it sounds really great and it sounds
Yeah.
powerful.
Uh-huh.
But what are some ways people can identify if they have not self-identified as a perfectionist, but that complex, that mindset is really there? What are some things they can really do to say, I want to, I'm hearing what Jeanette is saying, and maybe
Mm-hmm,
there's some of this in my life that I'm carrying. Maybe it's not completely paralyzing me, but
mm-hmm.
there's a like they can look back in their mind and go, "Ooh, there's this and this and this that I haven't released, that I haven't put it out there
Yeah.
because of the fear of it not being perfect." What are some ways someone could say as a self-evaluation, "Ooh, maybe I am struggling with perfectionism to a great
Mm-hmm.
degree."
My biggest assessment is going to be, are you exhausted?
Mm,
Are
mm.
you
That
exhausted?
makes it plain right there.
Right there, physically, emotionally, spiritually exhausted.
Wow. Wow.
That is the
Wow.
biggest telltale.
Listen, that makes it attainable for anyone to do the evaluation.
Mm-hmm.
It's somewhere in my mind, I was like, she's going to be like, okay, you got to do this and you got to do that.
Mm-mm.
Are you exhausted?
Are you exhausted? Because let me tell you, it is exhausting being a perfectionist. It
Yeah.
is. It is
Yeah.
emotionally draining.
Mm,
When you
yeah.
are spent by sending an email,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
To me,
Like
that.
my heart goes out to a person truly
Mm-hmm,
stuck in that space
mm-hmm.
at that level. I mean, when you think about a person that, oh, I need to send an email,
Right,
boom, send.
right. Yeah,
That perfectionism is so rooted in you that you can't send an email.
yeah,
Then what other ways
yeah.
are
When you,
you not showing up in the world, in your world, not the whole big wide world, your
right,
world? How are you not showing up as the beautiful soul that you really are?
right. Exactly,
Mm,
exactly. I also look at your expectations of others,
okay. Oh,
right?
that's a good one because I would imagine a person struggling with perfectionism also wants others to be perfect.
They
Wow.
demand
I
it.
never even thought about that other side.
You're demanding it for others. Your expectations for others are extremely high, extremely high.
Mm.
You might have a romantic partner who is also exhausted because you have demanded so much for them, and
Right.
they don't feel like they can meet it, right?
Yeah.
The goalpost of what makes them acceptable to you keeps getting pushed back. You know,
Wow.
they need to get this, and then they need to get this, and then they need to get that. And then once they finally have this, then maybe we will be able
Mm.
to be.
Wow. Wow. And again, those of us that have been in relationships long term. My husband and I have been married 21 years now. Sis, you
Mm-hmm.
realize that whole list of stuff that you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
it's not what keeps you together for 21 years.
No.
It is not the solid foundation. Are they good to have?
Yeah.
Hmm. But some of the things that are on that perfect list,
Yeah.
it's not what sustains you when someone gets sick and you need to care for them or you need to be cared
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
It's not those type of perfect things, right?
But
Um wow, that I never even thought about the other side of that person with
yeah.
how they're interacting with other people,
Yeah.
um on how they're looking for that person to
Yeah.
live up to kind of a perfect bar as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You might hear your partner say, "Am I ever going to be good enough for you?
Mm,
You know,
mhm.
will I ever be able to make you happy?"
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
And the truth of the matter is, no, they're never going to be able to make you happy because you're not happy.
Right. It has to be. So I have a Maven quote that says the work is not skippable.
Mm-mm.
That's your internal work. Like
Mhm.
it can't come from someone else. It just
Mhm.
cannot come from someone else. You and here's the thing I say. Um that work is not skippable journey, especially when you start it. It is doggone near terrifying.
Yeah.
I felt like my tear ducts were broken for a year. I
Yeah.
just I
Yeah.
cried and I
Yeah.
just it's like you're trying to do the work and you're like, God, it's too hard. This too long. Can we get a little snap, snap? Can
Yeah.
you speed it up? Like all of the things. But I would not trade that season of
Mhm.
having to dig deep into that work
Yeah.
for anything in the world because it gave me the permission I needed to show
Oh,
up
yes.
as Myra, which
Yeah.
led me to my next Maven quote of everybody is not for me and I am not for everybody.
Hello.
I'm
Hello.
okay with it.
Okay.
Because I can't,
Yeah.
if you need someone to be perfect, I'm not perfect. I'm not even worried about it.
No. Yeah.
And, I think about a friend that I was connected to and met some years ago. I saw that she was a person struggling with perfectionism.
Mm.
And you saw it in how she dressed. And listen, I like a nice dressed woman. Listen, I dress
Yes.
very well. I'm
Mm.
casual today, but I still dress well, right? But there's a difference in perfectionism mindset
Mm.
around the way you physically show up in the
Yep.
world. You can feel it on
You
people
feel it.
how
You feel it.
it's just very structured and they're not
Mhm.
free in it. It's
No.
this I have to be prim and prop and nobody can see any flaws.
Exactly. Exactly.
And what I realized at the beginning of this, I'm going to call it association because we never really like became deep friends cuz listen, I
Yeah.
couldn't. She had never been really in friendships that didn't
Mm.
need anything from her,
Mm.
where she had all the perfect answers, she was the
Yeah.
source for
Yeah.
everyone connected to her.
Yeah.
And I didn't need anything from her. And she did not know how to relax and just be a friend.
Mm-mm.
And I said to her one time, because she thought I was upset and some stuff was going on, and
Mm.
sis, just relax. I,
Yeah.
I, I
Yeah.
said, I don't need anything from you other than just being a friend.
Mhm.
I don't need it. And she just at that part in her life in her season,
Mhm.
she couldn't get
Couldn't-
there. And
No.
I had to just keep putting some space between that because
No.
it wasn't my assignment to get her there.
No.
I was clear on that.
Yeah.
And I couldn't like I couldn't put all that energy into a friendship
Right.
that needed all of that. No, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Right. Right. No, exactly. It was
I had to
exhausting.
back away from that.
Exactly. Because it's not your responsibility. That is her work to do, 100%. But that does remind me of when I was deep in my perfectionism and I was
Mhm.
that girl where I was showing up and everything I said, everything I did, even, at dinners or whatever, I had to be perfect. And if I
Okay.
did feel like I made a mistake, my entire weekend was spent ruminating over that,
Oh wow.
ruminating over that, ruminating. What should I have done differently? What do they think about me now? I wonder if she's thinking
Mhm.
this about me. It
Yeah.
is exhausting,
Exhausting.
so
Exhausting.
exhausting.
So
And
what are some steps if a person does this
mm,
exhaustion evaluation,
mm,
mindset, mind, spiritual, mental, physical,
mhm,
because it
mm,
shows up in all of the spaces. It
yeah,
just drags your entire battery down.
mm,
So they say, okay, I think I'm struggling with this a bit more than
yeah,
I realize. I can
yeah,
identify how I haven't released this or done this or shown up in this way
yeah,
because I'm afraid that it's not going to be perfect. What's the next step for a person to say, okay, I want to improve this because I want to be able to show up in the world and enjoy life and not be with this mindset being stuck in like a cyclone of I
yeah.
shoulda, coulda, woulda. I shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Exactly.
What are they thinking? Maybe now they don't like me, or all of the
Yes,
things that
yes,
Brene Brown talks about the
yes,
storylines women
yes.
can create in their heads that will never ever come true.
Right, right.
People, I just said to someone the other day, no one's thinking about you like you think they're thinking about you. They're
It's
not.
You're not
But
doing
that mindset makes
it.
blows up a thing to
Mhm.
the entire world is looking at me,
Exactly.
or everyone that was at that dinner is thinking about me in this moment going, "Oh my
Exactly.
god, she used the wrong tense of a word."
Exactly. Yes.
Nobody
Yes.
heard it. And
Nobody
if
heard.
they heard it, it's over. Like, okay, it's
Exactly.
fine.
Yep. So one thing I would want to encourage someone to do is really assess their social circle,
Okay.
right?
Why the
Because
social part?
yeah, because I'm curious to know what is keeping your perfectionism thriving.
Okay.
We definitely have that internal work that we need to do. And of course, I
Right.
would encourage you to go to see a therapist to really unpack that. But
Yeah.
what else is keeping that thriving? Is it,
Mm.
are you surrounding yourself with people who you don't feel like you can be yourself with? Like your friend who was
Okay.
only finding herself in circles where
Mm-hmm.
people were needing these things from
Mm-hmm.
her. Because I would want to, if she was my client, I would want to know about that pattern.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like, what about these people makes you feel comfortable? What about them is
Mm-hmm.
familiar?
Yeah.
Because you have a
Yeah.
choice to break that pattern by engaging in a friendship with Myra,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
Myra's friendship is uncomfortable for you,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
And so I would want to examine that social circle a little bit for her and the patterns that are showing up in
Yeah. And in that social circle, are those people not
that.
challenging you? My entrepreneur circle, my close knit of female entrepreneur friends,
Mhm.
I can say when things show up that was not serving us,
Right,
someone in that text chain is going to be like, "No, wait, hold on,
right,
go back.
right,
No,
right,
why? No, wait, that's not the right wording.
right,
You're beating yourself up. Like we just gave you a compliment and you shot it down.
right,
What's
right.
what's that about?" So that's interesting that you focus on that social circle. Of course, they need to see whatever therapist they need to see and all of that. But that's because someone is supporting that. Someone is not challenging you to grow or
Mhm.
allowing you because it probably serves them in some way.
Yeah, you're being rewarded for it somewhere, right?
Mm,
And there's a good chance you're being rewarded for it at work because corporate America
absolutely.
thrives on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
that's another story we got to dive into.
That's a whole nother podcast.
But outside of work, where else is it showing up? Where else are
Okay.
you being rewarded for that perfectionism? Usually it's in our social circle, and usually it's with our parents or some type of
Wow.
primary caregiver. And so we have to
Wow.
examine those relationships.
Listen. Listen, I have just crossed my arms and went, that's it right there. Like
Yeah.
I never really thought about it on who's supporting that, who is
Mhm.
encouraging you to stay in that
Mhm.
space. And likely too, if the people you're allowing to be in your intimate social circle are that way also,
Mhm. Right,
they
right,
probably can't even see it in themselves, so they can't even see it in you. They're everybody's like, oh no, this is just how we operate because
right,
we're
right.
we do things
Exactly.
the right way only.
Right.
Y'all make me tired. Like, look, this
Right.
it's you again, failures, setbacks,
Mhm.
do-overs
Mhm.
are going to be a part of the journey.
Exactly.
I say, if you are not making any mistakes, you are not doing it right.
You are not doing it right. You're not doing it
Because
right.
you're not challenging yourself, you're not pushing yourself, you're not just allowing life to life. If
Right.
you think, oh, I can only do this if it's going to be mistake free, there's just not a lot of stuff you're going to do in life.
No.
It's just not a
Putting
lot.
yourself in a box. You really are.
Yeah.
Um, as perfectionists, we are extremely afraid of failure because failure for us is really um, it's really equated to shame or embarrassment
Yeah.
or
Okay.
humiliation,
Hmm.
right?
Okay.
And so we're going to have all these negative experiences if I put ND instead of AND or whatever in the email,
Hmm.
or if I,
Yeah.
start my social media project and it's not just right, people are going to be nitpicking every single slide or post, etc. Yeah,
Right.
just we automatically go straight to all of the negative that is going to come
I see.
from trying instead of thinking about all the positive that's going to come from
Yeah, the good stuff. The
the
good
good
stuff.
stuff.
So as we wrap up, let's talk about is so someone has identified, self-identified, or identified with a therapist that they are struggling with perfectionism. Is
Mhm.
that something you can overcome, or is it something you learn to just better manage? What's a person's journey going to be looking
Yeah,
like on that?
yeah. So I call myself a recovering perfectionist because I feel like I'm on the other side of it, but I do at
Okay.
times find myself getting caught in these little loops. And so the
Okay.
good thing about my healing journey is I like to say that I've gotten to a place where I have an increased awareness.
Okay.
I think that is the goal. I think
I
it's a
love it.
goal of finding what has been the root of my perfectionistic habits. What are the environments in which it's thriving in, and what
Okay.
boundaries do I need to put in place for myself? What thought process do I need to break uh, to unlearn? Right?
Okay.
And how do I really feel about myself? Who am I? Whose
Yeah.
goals am I? Whose goals am I trying to accomplish here? Are they my goals? Is this
Hmm.
what I really want? Am I living the life that I really want right now?
Wow. I love it. Listen, this has been so informative. I
Yeah.
mean, so informative because I think this topic of perfectionism, that there's a lot more struggling happening with it
Yes.
than is being talked about. Um, Especially in the face of social media,
Yes.
right? People are afraid to show up there. And again, my whole undercurrent around social media, if that's where your clients are, be there. If they're not there,
Yes.
listen, don't
Exactly.
even be there. But when you do need to show up, be it on a social platform or in person or out of your house to a networking event or whatever it is, and it's you're so paralyzed
Yeah.
that you can't even show up and just be present
Right. Right.
in the moment
Right.
to enjoy life. This is so captivated for you that
Yeah.
maybe you're showing up, but it's behind all the facades.
Exactly.
And behind that facade, you are exhausted mentally,
Mhm.
physically, spiritually,
Yeah.
and not even finding any joy in the
Yeah.
work that you're doing anyway.
Yeah.
Listen, I hope that this segment sets some people free
I
to
hope so
really
too.
pursue the help that they need because listen, as I keep saying, everyone is not waiting for Maven Myra. Everyone is not waiting for Jeanette. Someone is waiting for you.
Right.
And I don't want perfectionism to be the thing that keeps you stuck and you
Right.
don't deliver into the earth the beautiful thing that you were created to do. That's
Absolutely.
it. That's it. I want us to, because we need it. We need whatever the thing is that you have. I
Exactly.
might not personally need it, but someone needs
Yes.
it because you weren't created for just nothing or to stay stuck behind. It has to be perfect before it can be put out into the world. So listen, the word for today: live free.
Live
Live
free.
free.
You are
Live
enough.
free. Whew.
Hmm.
Listen, honey, this is it. This is the topic. I mean, as you were talking, I just started thinking of all of the stories I've heard
Mm.
of how people make excuses for not showing up for themselves.
Right. Right.
And as you explain perfectionism and how it shows up and what it's rooted in, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
oh, that
Yeah.
makes sense now.
Right.
That makes sense now, especially when you know a little bit about a person's childhood or something. You
Yes.
see
Yes.
how we form these mindsets that just
Mhm.
crush us as adults.
Yes.
Crush us as adults.
Absolutely.
Listen, Jeanette, I am absolutely honored for you to share your expertise with Maven Nation today. And
So much for inviting
listen,
me.
this is going to help some people move forward in
Yeah.
freedom. In
I hope
freedom.
so.
Whew, I love it.
I love
I
it
love
too.
it.
It's been such a pleasure to be here. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
my joy. Listen, I'm going to shoot you a fire of some rapid fire questions I
Oh,
always give to the guests at the end. Listen, I know I never tell anybody I'm going to do this because then it'd be like, what is it going to be? It's all
I
easy
know.
peasy. It's all easy breezy.
Okay, I'm
So
ready.
I'm going to give you a couple of options. You just tell me which one you would prefer best. So if I said meat, seafood, or veggies, which would you choose?
Seafood.
Seafood,
Mhm.
peanut butter and jelly, or grilled cheese?
Grilled cheese.
Grilled cheese,
Mhm.
zip lines, or lounging by the pool?
Lounging by the pool.
All right. Reading a book or listening to an audiobook?
That's tough. I'm going to say listening to an audiobook.
Okay. Nap or no nap?
Nap. Nap.
Listen,
Oh, nap.
naps give life. Naps give
Nap.
life. Digital planner or paper planner?
Paper planner.
Okay. Biggie or Tupac? She's like, now, Myra.
Biggie. I don't hope I
Biggie.
don't get in trouble for that one. Biggie.
Okay. Okay. Techie or old school?
Techie for sure. Come
Techie.
on now.
Got it. Heels or flats?
Oh, heels.
Heels. Yes. Listen, she even put the body language. Heels. Put the whole thing together. And the
Yeah.
last one, ice cream or cookies?
Ice cream.
Ice cream. I love
Yeah.
it. That's it. That's
Uh-huh.
it.
Oh, that was fun.
Yes. Thank you so much again, Jeanette, for joining us and giving us really, like I said, soul giving information today. Maven Nation, until next time, keep doing your BAM thing. Talk with you soon.